There are so many exciting things going on here at Grace Church. It's what gives it a unique flavor and a unique dynamic. What's happening around here are not just randomly placed activities, though. There is a reason that drives everything that we do. Bottom line is, what we value is what we do.
Hi, I'm Sherry Jones. I'm the Director of Children's Ministry, and kids are great. Their excitement and their enthusiasm for God is contagious. And I have the privilege of serving and partnering with parents. It's a gift.
I'm Melanie Collins, and I work with the Middle School Rally. For me, when I was in middle school, it was a pretty difficult time, and I love to hear some of the stories and the things that they're going through, and just to be able to serve Christ through that realm.
Hi, my name is Dale Collins. I work with the Middle School Rally. My heart goes out to those kids, and I just want to show them more of God and His love.
My name is Sheila Messner, and I am the storyteller for Junior Power Kids. That's the 3 to 5 year olds. It's just a joy to be able to tell the children about Jesus, to tell them the stories about the Bible, from the Bible, that are true, because there's so much out in the world that isn't true. We just get to tell them the truth and how much God loves them.
I'm Adam Nesbitt. I'm a student grace group leader with the high school guys. The reason I lead is because I see it's a great opportunity to invest in the younger guys, get to know them and mentor them and teach them about Jesus.
My name is Stephen Young, and I help out with high school and middle school youth. And I do this because I believe it's important that the next generation knows the truth and love of Jesus Christ.
My name is Megan Miller. I serve with the Junior Power Kids because I have a passion for working with kids and a passion with God, and this has just been the best way to combine the two.
Hi, I'm Courtney Dowell, and this is my husband Micah, and I work with high school youth to help form a more solid foundation in Jesus. I saw a lot of young kids in college that had their foundations, and I saw those foundations get cracked and crumble. And if I can instill anything in the youth today, it's to have that firm foundation in Jesus.
And I'm Micah Dowell. Something that Courtney and I thought was important to instill into young people, young Christians. People really don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. As we work with the youth, this is something that we can instill into them by showing that, you know, we might have full-time jobs, we might be doing other things, but we care about these kids. We care about teaching them that we know that the most important thing is Jesus and how to walk with Him.
Hi, my name is Sarah Finn, and I help out with the 2-year-old classroom in Power Kids, and I really enjoy it because I think it's easy for a lot of people to think that they're just babies, so they don't understand the Bible stories that we're telling them, or they won't remember it, but I really don't believe that. I think that God is using this and that He's storing it in their little brains and their little hearts that they can keep with them, and I know that we're creating a safe environment for them at the least, helping them know that whenever they come to church, they have people that will care for them and love them, and parents can know that they can relax during sermons because their kids are in good hands.
Isn't that cool? Give a hand for those volunteers. Yeah. There are over 100 different volunteers that help out in our kid and student ministry here on a weekly basis at Grace, and it's exciting to hear some of their stories that we just got to see there in that little video. My name is Greg Foote. I'm the pastor of student ministries here at Grace. I get the opportunity and privilege to work with middle school students, grades 6 to 8, and as well as high school students, grades 9 to 12. But not only do I get to hang out with middle and high school students, I get to partner with their parents. And so I get to rub shoulders with parents and letting them know that we get to do this together. I am married. I have one wife of 11 years. Her name is Shannon. And Shannon and I have 2 kids. Lucas, who is going to be in 2nd grade, and Callie is going to be in 1st grade. And they're going to get ready to start school this next week. We're in the middle of a sermon series called Values. We're talking about what it is here around Grace Church that we value. And we have 8 different values, and we have a chance to just to kind of let everyone know what it is that's important to us. And so 2 weeks ago, we started off the series. Pastor Dan launched a series on the value of that we live to make Jesus make sense. What he talked about is that we're preoccupied with making any necessary sacrifice to make the story of Jesus clear and accessible to anyone seeking after him. And we talked about the importance of just anything we can do to make the story of Jesus make sense. And so if you weren't able to be a part of that, I encourage you to listen back online, download the podcast, and listen to it this next week to kind of hear why that's such a big deal. And then last week, Pastor Jeff Martell, he shared with us that we value sharing life together. We cannot live without honest relationships. We're resolved to figure out how to love God, love each other, and live on mission. And the key word there is together. It's so easy to want to do stuff alone, but we value being together, learning together, growing together, because we cannot do life alone successfully. And so go back and listen to Pastor Jeff as he talks about why it's so important to live life together. And this morning, we're going to look at the value, and that is the value of that we are fully committed to kids and students here at Grace Church. And so we're going to unpack why that's a value of ours. It's not. Some of you might be thinking, well, shouldn't all churches do that? Well, yes, we all should, and we put it in our value statement so we're held accountable, and also so you know when you walk in, oh, Grace Church values kids and students. So when I say the term kids and students, if you walked in here this morning and you said, and you would consider yourself a kid or a student, can I have you stand up right now? If you consider yourself a kid or a student, and if you're sitting beside someone who should consider themselves, maybe give them an elbow, right? Yeah, stand up, kids and students. There's a few of you. You guys, come on, stand up. All right. You guys stay standing. I'm talking to you guys this morning, all right? Now, stay standing. If you're sitting here today and I say the term kids and students, and you have a name or a picture of a kid or a student that pops into your mind right now, I want you to stand up right now, okay? Should be everybody. Come on, everybody stand up. Okay, I want us all to kind of stand to kind of have that awkward kind of thing here. Knowing we're going to have dialogue together. We're going to talk. I'm going to have a conversation with us today. All right, so let's have a seat. So, but know that the thing why this is so important is because it affects all of us, whether we currently are a kid or student, or we know someone who is a kid or student. If you have a child or a grandchild, you're an aunt or uncle, and so there's opportunities to know that why this is such an importance to us here at Grace. This past summer, my family and I, Shannon and the kids, we took a trip to the city of St. Louis, Missouri, and we had a chance to take in all the different sites. And one of the sites we went to was the Gateway Arch. If you've never been to the St. Louis, one of their big crown jewels is the Gateway Arch. Why is it? It's really cool if you've never been there and know anything about it. It was man-made. It took about 3 years to make. It stands 630 feet in the air, and so it's a pretty impressive thing. So when we got to St. Louis, we kind of mapped out, okay, we're going to be in downtown one of these days, and so we're going to go to the Arch, and then after the Arch, we got a couple other things we wanted to go to. So we had one of those street maps. We got the street map out. We're at the bottom of the arch. We're trying to figure out, okay, after we go do the arch, we're going to go to the splash park later in the afternoon. So we had an idea on the map where that was going to be. Well, then it got time to go right up. They have an elevator inside the arch, and so you can, ride your way up to the top of this thing, 630 feet in the air. And this is one of the pictures that we took of the city of St. Louis. And you can see, you can view a long way. And it was really neat because one side you see that, and the other side is the Mississippi River. I wouldn't show you that picture because it's not that exciting. It's just a muddy river. But anyway, this is the view that we saw. And what's interesting about this is that map that we had at the base of the arch all of a sudden came to life, because now we got to not only look at a map, but we could look at the actual city and see, well, that's about where the splash park is. We know about how to get there, and we could see if there's any construction, how the traffic was going. And so it was pretty cool to see the map come to life. And you might be wondering, Greg, why are you talking to us about your trip to St. Louis? Well, because it has everything to do with what we're going to talk about today. When we were at the top of the arch, we had a chance to see for miles. And so when we look at Grace Student Ministries and children's ministries, the reason why Grace Church values kids and students is because in your outlines, the first blank there to fill in there, and this is important, we must have the long view. We must have the long view. When we work with kids and students, when we invest in kids and students, we have to look beyond just what's right in front of us, and we have to look at what it's going to be like years and years down the road. And this is even thinking years that we're not going to see. So this is how we invest in this next generation will impact the generation after that, the generation after that. It's our grandkids. It's our great-grandkids. It's our great-great-grandkids, kids that we may never have a chance to see, and that's why we have a long view. We want to do everything we can. So here at Grace, we're fully committed to kids and students, and we unapologetically devote major resources and energy towards shaping a God-centered worldview during a person's prime developmental years. It's during the time that they're in the kids and students, and with their minds are just growing in amazing ways, and they're learning so much. And so why is this important? Well, because Barna Group did a study asking adults that were followers of Christ, Christians, asking them, when was it in your life that you made the decision to follow Jesus? And of all these adults that were polled, 43% said that they accepted Christ by the age of 13. 43%, so about half. And then that same group of people said, well, it wasn't 13, but by the time I was 18, 64%, about 2 out of 3 adults would say that they accepted Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior before they were 18. Gang, this is why we're fully committed to kids and students, because that is when a lot of people make Jesus Christ Lord of their life. And we want to do everything we can to not only to let them go, but how can we train them? How can we encourage them to then, as they grow older, then that they're then investing back in the following generations. Kids and students, if you stood up at the beginning when I asked the kids and students to stand up, here's something to put in your mind. The only thing that matters 100 years from now, the only thing that matters 100 years from now is where you're at in your relationship with Jesus Christ. 100 years from now, the only thing that matters is where you're at in your relationship with Jesus Christ. Adults, parents, if you don't consider yourself a kid or student, or you know a kid or student, the rest of us in the room, the only thing that matters 100 years from now is whether or not our kids have a relationship with Jesus Christ. Grace Church is fully committed to kids and students is because we know that this is a prime developmental years, and we want to do everything we can. We're unapologetic about it to make it happen. And if you're new to Grace Church, you haven't been around for a while, know that kids and students are valued. And the more you hang out here, you'll see that kids and students do a lot of things around here. It's pretty fascinating. All right, we're going to open our Bibles this morning and look at a story in Scripture, and we're going to hone in on a verse, but that makes me, it sends shivers up my spine every time I read it. But before we get to that verse, I want to give some backstory to what's going on here. So turning your Bibles to the book of Joshua. Joshua is in the Old Testament. It's after Deuteronomy. And if you don't have a Bible, there's blue Bibles in the back of the seat backs in front of you. If you want to pull one of those out, and the page number where we're going is page 189. If you have an app on your phone or your tablet, you can just find Joshua 24 there too. All right, so this is what's going on leading up to Joshua 24. So this is what's happening. There's a guy in the Bible, maybe some of you have heard of him, his name's Moses. Moses was used by God in amazing ways, and if you open the book, and if you go to the book of Exodus in your Bible, you'll learn all about some of the things that he did. But God used Moses to lead the nation of Israel out of the land of Egypt, where they were currently being slaves. So this whole nation of Israel was in slavery, and God used Moses to lead these people out. And it wasn't an easy process. If you've never read it, I encourage you to go back and read it to see some of Moses' struggles, some of his victories, because it wasn't an easy thing, and it did not happen overnight. It took some time. So Moses led the nation of Israel. They eventually got out of slavery, and they wandered through the wilderness, and they're eventually trying to find, or they were going to this place called the Promised Land. This place that God was talking about for generations, that I'm going to take the nation of Israel to the Promised Land. When Moses was getting older, he eventually passed the baton on of leadership to a younger man named Joshua. And so Joshua was then the man who had the chance to take the nation of Israel into the promised land. And that's what you read about in the book of Joshua. If you've never read the book of Joshua, I encourage you to do so. It's fascinating. You hear about military conquests. You hear how God talks to Joshua, telling him, be strong and courageous, the Lord your God is with you. Be strong and courageous, the Lord your God is with you. He says that over and over again. And Joshua continues to do some amazing things. We learn that Joshua he's a human being. He makes some mistakes. And so when you read his account, you're like, okay, he made some mistakes here. But the cool thing about Joshua was he continued to follow God. And so we're going to pick up here at the end of the book of Joshua. And so Joshua chapter 24, I'm going to start reading here in verse 14. It says this, now fear and this is Joshua talking to the nation of Israel. Now fear the Lord and serve him with all faithfulness. Throw away the gods your forefathers worshiped beyond the river and in Egypt, and serve the Lord. But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourself this day whom you will serve, whether the gods your forefathers served beyond the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you are living. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. Verse 16, then the people answered, far be it from us to forsake the Lord to serve other gods. It was the Lord our God himself who brought us and our fathers up out of Egypt from the land of slavery and performed those great signs before our eyes. He protected us on our entire journey and among all the nations through which we traveled. And the Lord drove out before us all the nations, including the Amorites who lived in the land. We too will serve the Lord because he is our God. All right, so this is the picture. Joshua is talking to the nation of Israel. He's saying, okay, gang, now it's time to ante up. You know, you can serve the gods that we knew back in Egypt. You can serve the gods of the country that we just take over. Or you can, as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. And the whole nation of Israel is like, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to follow Joshua. Joshua, we believe what you say. We've seen God do some amazing things. We've heard stories of what's happened in the past. We're going to follow you. And Joshua's like, well, are you sure? Because this is a big claim. If you're gonna be all in with God, it's a big claim. And the whole nation of Israel's like, yes, we're gonna be here. We're gonna do this. It's like coming off of a big conference where you just get all amped up on Jesus juice, and everybody's like, yeah, we're gonna take over the world. It's gonna be awesome. And so that's where they're at here. And so Joshua, as you continue to read the rest of the chapter, you'll see that he kind of gives them more warning, saying, you realize if we make this commitment, this is a big deal. And the nation of Israel is like, we understand it's a big deal. We're going to do this. We understand. We're going to do this. So they eventually put up a big stone and they make a monument, and they say, you know, what Joshua said, we're going to follow the Lord. We're going to do this thing. I encourage you to read the rest of the chapter. It's fascinating. Do that this afternoon. You can see what goes on there. So that's where this nation is at. They've seen all these military conquests. They're in the promised land. They're all amped up. They're like, yeah, what Joshua said, as for his house was for the Lord, we're for the Lord. All right, turn over a page or two to the book of Judges, which is the very next book of the Bible. We're going to look at Judges chapter 2. I'm going to start reading here in verse 7. Now remember what we just came from. This is soon after what we just read. Chapter 2, verse 7. The people served the Lord throughout the lifetime of Joshua, and the elders who outlived him and who had seen all the great things the Lord had done for Israel. Joshua, son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died at the age of 110, and they buried him in the land of his inheritance at Timnah-Heres in the hill country of Ephraim, north of Mount Gash. Verse 10. After that whole generation had been gathered to their fathers, another generation grew up who knew neither the Lord nor what he had done for Israel. After that whole generation had been gathered, yeah, God, we're going to follow you. There's a monument for you. Woo! Another generation grew up who knew neither the Lord nor what he had done for Israel. Every time I read this verse, it sends shivers up my spine thinking, how in the world did that happen? And when you read Judges, you can see how that can happen. And gang, if we don't continue to invest in the next generation, it can easily happen in our watch. And so the reason why we're fully devoted to kids and students, we want to make sure this does not happen. It does not repeat itself during our day, nor the years to come. A whole generation cannot not know about God and what He has done for us. We have to make sure we are on our guard to keep this next generation knowing what is the big deal. We need to do everything we can to make Jesus make sense, knowing that this is not our thing. We gotta do this together. So there's a space there in your outline, and what we cannot do is we cannot drop the baton. Any track stars out there, or former track stars, or people who maybe attempted track? Some of you, awesome. I did 1 year of track when I was in 8th grade, and it was a great experience. I was a shot and disc player, so I didn't even get to do this unless they had the Fat Man's Relay one time where all the shot and disc guys got to relay. And so what relays are is a relay team has to go around the track so many times, and then they have to pass the baton off from one person to the next. And the key is you only have so far to do so. So when you start running to pass the baton off, so it's an art form. So the person who's grabbing it has to hold it a certain way, and the person passing has to do a certain thing. And so when the baton is passed, the flag goes up that everything's good, and they get to keep running. But if there's a fault, like a person goes over the line, or the worst case scenario, the baton is dropped, then that team is disqualified. So when we talk about the long view, talking about generations, guys, kids, students, adults, everyone in between, we cannot drop the baton on this generation. We have to do everything we can to make sure that this generation does not grow up not knowing the Lord nor what He has done. And so when our kids grow up, they can say, yeah, this is what I learned. This is what I'm going to tell my kids and what they're going to tell their grandkids. We have to do that. It cannot happen on our watch. We here at Grace, we try to do everything we can to pass the baton. We encourage our students, our student ministry students, to not just come to the building here and sit, but if they're able, to get involved in the church. You don't have to be a certain age. You don't have to be, have a certain look to you. You have to love Jesus, and you have to want to be able to serve. And so we have students that serve here on a regular basis. If you're involved, you come at any time. You can go to the Power Kids rooms and see a lot of our high school and middle school students investing there. There's high school and middle school students as greeters and doing different things. And so we always encourage our students to get plugged in. And you'll see a lot of adults as well. And we also, not only do we encourage them to get involved here on Sunday mornings and Wednesday nights, but we also give them opportunities on mission trips. This past year, we took a mission trip to Atlanta just to get the students outside of the norm, outside of the greater Akron area, to say, what does the world look like in different parts? And so we do mission trips just to give them those exposures. And so here's a challenge that an author, his name's Reggie Joyner, this is what he says, and I wanted to share it with us this morning. He says, as leaders and parents, our primary calling is not to keep our children in the church, but to lead them to be the church. Our primary calling is not to keep our children in the church. Do everything we can. We got to get our kids in the church. And yes, you want to get your kids here. Don't mishear me. Don't mishear what Reggie's saying, what I'm saying. We want to get them here, but what we want to instill in them is to know that coming here is not the church. They are the church. When you make Jesus Christ Lord of your life, when you say, I want to follow Jesus, you are the church. So we need to make sure that we tell this next generation, wherever they are the church. They're the church on their school campuses. They're the church in their jobs. It's the same way with you. You're the church in your work. You're the church when you're going at a grocery store doing your thing. We are the church. We represent Christ wherever we are, and not just at 3970 Cleveland, Mass. We are the church wherever we're at. And we have a chance to instill in the next generation that you are the church, and it's a big deal. It's interesting too is one of the things that we, Sherry Jones and I, our children's director, is we want to let everyone know that we're not the primary spiritual influences in the kids' lives. Those adults that you saw on the screen, they're not the primary spiritual influence in kids' lives. You know what the primary spiritual influences are in a kid's life? It's their parents, their guardians, the people who spend the most time with them. That's who the primary spiritual influences are. Where they get their spiritual influence directly trickles down from what their parents have taught them, what their parents have shown them. We have students who are doing a lot alone. Like they don't have a good spiritual influence at home. But what we want to do is partner with parents to say, how can we help? How can we train? How can we resource parents? And so when you drop your student off here or your child off here at Grace, you're not just saying, yep, that's the only time they're getting Jesus. We want to make sure when they get dropped off here that what they learn, what they hear, then you guys have a chance to interact with them during the week and how you live out your days. So you might be sitting here thinking, yep, that's a good idea. I mean, we're all about children's ministry, youth ministry, and shouldn't all churches be about children's and youth ministry? Well, I hope so. I mean, all churches should be about children's and student ministry, but we at Grace Church put a stamp on it saying that we value kids and students. We value them. We're all about them. And you might be sitting here as a kid or student and thinking, well, how does this relate to me? Well, if you're a kid or you know a kid, somebody who's infant to 5th grade, I want to let you know that every Sunday morning we have a thing downstairs that's called Power Kids, and in that realm we have teachers and leaders that make the gospel make sense, make Jesus make sense to that age group, and so these kids can learn and grow, and then what they learn and grow they can share with their families and as well as their time at school, and so that happens every Sunday morning. Every Sunday during our 10 o'clock hour, one of the things we do for our middle school students, if you're going into grades 6 to 8 this school year, in the hub next door, we have a thing called Middle School Rally. And at that rally, we do everything we can to make Jesus make sense to the middle school student. And those of you that have been through middle school know that that's a very key time in life. There's a lot of things going on, and we want to make sure we do everything we can to give an accurate picture of who God is. And so we do that every Sunday morning during the 10 o'clock hour. If you're a high school student, grade 9 to 12, we have a thing starting September 7th is our fall kickoff. It's called High School Rally. We have music, we have a band, obviously, and we do everything we can to make Jesus make sense for that age group. And we do life together. We break up into groups, and we learn about stuff. And so if you're not involved in any of that stuff, I encourage you to check it out. And if you are involved, bring your friends, knowing that it's a safe place, knowing that when they come, that your kids and students are valued, and we put a high emphasis there. And if you're an adult in the room and know that there are opportunities to partner as parents, or maybe you're here, there's ways to get plugged in and getting involved, and I encourage you to do that. But one of the things that we do for our kids ministry is we have God times that get passed out every week, and so parents and kids can learn what they're learning about in the Power Kids realm. In student ministry, we give out an informer every other month. Just what are ways that you can talk to your students and invest in them, just some cultural things to be aware of and be a part of that. So I encourage you to partner in that way. So maybe I want to leave you, we're going to leave with a question answered, hopefully. And this is the question that I want to throw up there is how can I invest in the next generation? Like okay, Greg, you've given us this, this opportunity, and you talk about its importance. And so how can you invest in the next generation? All right, in your programs, and where the notes are being taken, in this area here, if you haven't doodled or done anything, I want you to draw a hand, all right? Try to trace it, it might be too big, but just draw a hand in that open spot there, okay? Draw a hand. One of the guys in the earlier gatherings drew a 6-fingered hand, so don't feel like it's all okay. We can mutate here. All right, so what's the big deal about drawing a hand? Why did I have you do that? Well, because I want to give a visual for what we're going to talk about next, and this is how we're going to land this morning. Is what are ways that how can I invest in the next generation? Well, you can invest in the next generation by giving a hand. Give a hand. You know, the term of, you know, how can I help? Well, you just give a hand. Or maybe you heard the term, do you need a hand? So think about that as we get ready to talk about these next three things, giving a hand. So there's three ways of giving a hand. The first way is this: hands together. Hands together in prayer. If you stood up this morning as knowing a kid or a student, or you currently are a kid or a student, pray for your friends. If you know a kid or student, grandchild, children, aunt, or niece and nephew, pray for them. If you don't know anybody who's a kid or student, pray for the local school districts. If you're not sure what the local school districts are, Norton, high school, middle school, elementary school, okay? Pray for Norton. I don't know how many of you know this, but Grace Church, we have a great relationship with Norton Schools, which is awesome. But in 2 years, the high school is going to be our next door neighbor. Awesome. What an opportunity we have to show to our community how much we invest in kids and students. And so we need to do everything we can to hands together and pray. So I encourage you all this afternoon to pray for the name of a student or the schools, especially because a lot of them are starting back up this next school year. All right, the next one is hands-on. Hands-on. Volunteer to invest. And so this could be multifaceted. But what we mean by this one is, what are ways that you can invest in this next generation hands-on? Whether it's getting plugged in, helping out here around the church on a regular basis in the ministry realm, or even outside the walls of the church. What are ways that you can invest in the next generation as a coach? We need good coaches who train our kids what it means to do the right thing and play the game right. And volunteer to invest as a coach. Maybe you're involved in the arts. Volunteer to invest. How can I help in as an instructor, as a teacher, as a mentor? What are ways? And so as you think about this next generation, what are ways that you can do hands-on to invest in them? There's several opportunities there. And the last one is hands over. Share what's been given to you. Some of us have been blessed with resources that we don't necessarily know what to do with, or maybe other ways we can use what's been given to us. And so, hands over. What are ways that what's been given to you that you can hand over to give this next generation to use for the cause of Christ? So, just to review, we have hands together, hands on, and hands over. And why is this important? Well, because the only thing that matters 100 years from now is our relationship with Jesus Christ. And if we have to have the long view, think about standing on top of a gateway arch, looking 630 feet in the air and seeing miles on end. It's like that's how we have to view how we're going to look at the generations beyond us. And it might be the generation right behind us. Maybe it's our kids. But then thinking about our grandkids. And then the crazy thing about thinking about our great-great-grandkids. What values are we instilling in them that they can carry on to the next generation? At the beginning of this message, we had a chance to hear from adult volunteers that are helping out in our kid and student ministry. And now we have a chance to hear from some of our students that went on a mission trip to Atlanta, or our Momentum Conference, or our Beyond Middle School Camp. And we captured some of their stories, and they're going to be able to share with you some of the things that they've learned. But the thing I want us to kind of see how this book ends. At the front, we had people who are investing in students. And now we're going to see the students who are being invested in, and how cool that picture is. And then following, after the video, our student band's going to come out and lead us in worship together. So let's sit back and let's watch this video together.
I'm Olivia, and I get the chance during the summer to invest my time with the kids, and I'm a counselor at junior camp that we have. And I recently got to pray with one of my campers, and she accepted Christ. And we do this thing where they ring the bell whenever they make the decision to accept Christ. And so I got to be with her when she made that decision. And it was just really cool for both of us, and just to see God work in such a young life.
This summer I went to Beyond Middle School Camp. I learned that you have to have a relationship with Him. You can't just go to church and do good things and get to heaven, and it was just a really fun experience.
I think my biggest takeaway was to go all in when following God and really give everything you have to Him.
What we really learned about at Atlanta was reach out to the unreached. So I brought that back to our youth group, mainly in football. Share your faith with them, show them about God, bring them to church, things like that.
So I got to talk to this Buddhist family. They were waiting for their son to get back from doing whatever he was doing. And we just got to talk and listen to their religion, and I learned a lot. I'm trying to keep in touch with them, so they're great people.
All week I was having issues with anxiety, and one of the guys that I actually talked to, we were supposed to go around and get prayer requests. He actually asked me to pray for his anxiety too. It's true, you never realize how many people are going through the same thing as you, and it really opened my eyes.
Like, as I share what I learned at Momentum to my friends, that I need to just show compassion and love towards them even though they don't have those similar beliefs as me. I need to still have my eyes on the prize, and I need to remind myself that I'm doing this for Christ, and His love will never stop, and my love for my friends can never stop.
We learned that about this thing called FISH. It's about how you should make friends with people. I know other people that know Christ, not just around me, but all over the state of Ohio and the country.
You know, I've really learned a lot about continuing my faith and being a follower. And one thing is that I've been looking forward to is becoming a good leader. I'm looked to as a leader in some situations, so just reach out to people and start telling them about God.
This year Momentum just really opened my eyes to how I really want to live my life from now on instead of being just a fan. And so when I come back to youth group and bring kids to youth group, I think it's going to be a great environment because we really want kids to know about God and just see our passion for Him. And so I'm really excited to see what this school year brings.